Hello, everyone, and welcome to the panel, NOAA Spectators, Community-Built Multiverses. My name is Vanessa Matias. I'm the co-founder of White Rabbit, which is a trends and foresight research company, and I will be the moderator today. First of all, I'd like to welcome the panelists. You probably will be as excited as I am to be here with people that put together some of the most amazing experiences that I actually participated. And they are here to share their experiences and good stories about the crazy times we are all living, especially people that work with events, right? We have first Kim, who is the Director of Creative Initiatives at Burning Man. Hi, Kim, where are you talking to us from?
Hi, Vanessa. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm actually in Oakland, California.
And also here with Jennifer. I think that it's pronounced Jennifer Legrand.
It is. It's like Jennifer, but in French. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Kim.
And you're the Chief Creative Officer at C2 Montreal, or C2?
Yes, at C2, yeah.
And I'm also with Tim Waldron. He's the singer and leader of a band called Courier Club from Philly.
Yeah, from Philadelphia. Excited to be on the panel today.
But I'll pass it over to your proper presentations in just a few minutes, because before we get this conversation started and hear about your amazing stories on how you survived and managed to put together amazing experiences in 2020, I wanted to know why I decided to put together those three experiences, right? I'm a festival enthusiast. I sort of festival hop from place to place, from country to country, either to speak or to attend, because I'm sort of passionate about the vibe when people are eager to get out of their comfort zone. And festival used to be a huge part of my job as a curator of people, of cases, of signals, and because they unite communities and they spark new ideas when they have this energy of disruption. And I sure miss being with all of you in Austin, because we would probably get out of this panel and go to Easy Tiger and have a beer or watch a concert together. But from the ashes of this unexpected pandemic, the creative communities were driven to reinvent themselves, right? A lot of things emerged from this field that we can call the I don't know zone, right? And I made a personal quest, and I virtually festival hopped all over 2020. I attended more than 30 different events. And I'm sure that we can all agree that during this time, we're able to access more information than ever and content that we ever saw before. We saw keynote speakers, we watched concerts, we learned yoga. I did Pilates in my living room a lot, everything online. So I really think that in one hand, we had access to this infinite content. We had more inclusion than ever. Even this online South by experience will have probably more people attending than ever. Technology sort of skyrocketed this year because it had a lot of people that didn't have had access to it started to use it. We all had the ability to curate our own experience. We also had scalability and also productivity. We can even be in 2 or 3 events within the same day, right? But I don't know about you in your countries, organizations, but most people I talk to feel a little bit exhausted, right? One of the words of the year were infodemia, this feeling that we're being overwhelmed with information. And while we can access easily all the information that we have in the world, what we miss from physical experience is something different. It is about the connection, is about the presence, is about getting out of the topic that we first were searching for, is the feeling of belonging, is leaving our boxes, it's also having fun, bonding closer with strangers, a sense of community, and basically the unexpected. Why did we choose those 3 cases? Because for me, they managed to beautifully translate this physicality into amazing multiverse-like experiences. It's not just about the content, such as the keynote speech or yoga class or another kind of content, but they managed to translate what I'm calling of this lost spark, right? This magic that only happens when humans interact face-to-face. So they did this on virtual lands. So that's what the panel will be about, how to create this spark. That being said, I would like to invite first Kim and then Jennifer and Tim to get this conversation started. So let's do the first round. if we may, where each of you introduce yourselves and present the projects like Burning Man and Band and Situ. Let's start with Kim.
Yes.
Cool. Can you open, just for people that haven't been to Burning Man, say what Burning Man is and what you do there?
Sure. My name is Kim, as you know from when I was introduced, and I'm the Director of Creative Initiatives for Burning Man, which is an event that's been going for over 30 years and happens in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada each year in the week leading up to what is in the United States a holiday called Labor Day, the first Monday in September. So we build a temporary city with 70,000 participants who attend. Over time, we evolved something that we refer to as the 10 principles, which are the ways in which people who participate in our event interact with each other. So we have leaving no trace. That means everybody packs everything in and packs everything out, and we leave the desert as pristine as we found it. Or gifting, or decommodification, meaning that we have no brands or sponsors or money exchange inside of the event except to buy ice or coffee. And we have greater than 450 artworks that are brought to the desert, some of which more than 30 are greater than 40 feet tall. And over the course of the week, all of these theme camps with experiences ranging from zip lining to a chorus to how to do appropriate consent-based BDSM. Anything you could find interesting in life or in the world is being gifted to you by all of the other people who attend at the same time. So it's a very beautiful, co-created, participant-based event in the Black Rock Desert that now has more than 90 other events around the world. There's Burning Seed in Australia, and also South Africa Burn in South Africa, or Nowhere in Spain. It's just proliferated into a global culture.
Yeah, actually, I've been to Africa Burn a couple of times, to Mid Burn. I helped to co-create the Tropical Burn here in Brazil, which is one of the smallest still, I think, was like 400 people. So I'm a burner. And yes, I actually said festival, but I didn't mean it. I try to say that it's a social experiment, because it's hard to tell people that haven't been, like, what is something that it's not really, even though there is an organization, it's not organized, right, by the organization. And also, like, the name of the panel, the No Spectators, is one of the slogans of Burning Man that we sort of just use, because it's very easy to tell people what do we mean by that, right? It's like when people really put themselves out there and they are the one creating the experiences. And also, this is something that we're going to talk with Jennifer, because this is one of the things that called my attention on C2, right? I actually, the first time that I went to C2, I didn't see one keynote speech. I was just talking to people through just talking to each other, because people that propose the topics. So can you tell a little bit about C2?
Yes, of course. So I am the Chief Creative Officer of C2. C2 stands for Commerce and Creativity. And we like to say that we're the most forward-thinking business conference that was co-founded by Sidley and Cirque du Soleil 10 years ago. Ever since, we are welcoming every year at our flagship event in Montreal more than 7,000 participants to find creative solutions to the challenges that businesses and society are facing. Our participants are from 20-ish different industries, from 30 countries. There is CEOs, decision makers, entrepreneurs, academics, artists. So we really believe in the cross-pollination of ideas. And every year, we design a unique environment where we start from a blank canvas and we create a space where it's easy to meet other people. And we also invite great minds to inspire our participants. They are well-known speakers and people that we want our participants to discover, because they might work on a project that will change our lives. We're also designing collaborative experiences. So we often use a playful and a meaningful way to get our participants and into the content. We also have what we call the labs, that are signature experiences where we bring the participants outside of their comfort zone to have a brainstorming session. For instance, a few years ago, we had suspended a net 40 feet in the air, and people were invited to have a brainstorming sessions to talk about the risk-taking in businesses. So we also play a lot with metaphor. And these signature experiences are also an artistic gesture in the space. So we always like to blend and to merge the content with the context. And of course, in all the formats that we are programming, the networking is embedded in everything. And the art is also an important component. So because we feel that it's through the artistic performances that we can touch the human, create emotions, and spark the imagination of our participants. And beside our flagship event, that it really is an R&D laboratory for C2. We try a lot of things over there. We also do a lot of events outside Montreal for our clients, our partners. So we've been in Australia, Europe, North America. And from now on, C2 is a convener of community through a digital experience.
So let's just take a look at the video that I think it's like, it makes it easier to see, like to really grasp what the festival is. It's really great. I always tell people that you should go, not, right now we're not traveling, but when you get the chance, I don't know how this, you're going to probably tell us how this year is going to be, but when you get the chance, Montreal is amazing to see. And then we have Tim. Hi, Tim. Can you tell a little bit about yourself and the band?
Yeah, of course.
Another business.
Sounds good. So yeah, gaming and music have kind of been massive anchors throughout my life, kind of a cross section between careers and hobby. So when COVID actually happened, I was on tour with my project Courier Club. Restrictions set in, and we drove home, and we were inside ever since. So we, at that time, there was like a lot of just kind of unknownness and fear and just like loss of control. So we just were kind of eager to try to build something to kind of combat that, something positive. And being massive fans of gaming and virtual worlds themselves, we started a small Minecraft server for fans to kind of just play on, and we kind of like forged a little community on there. But that idea, over the course of what was only a month or two, transformed into what was Block by Block West, which was this a festival that had over 7,000 attendees and over 130,000 people attending through portals, like through YouTube and etc., Twitch, with massive acts. It kind of was this very decentralized snowball effect of every day more and more people kind of becoming involved with the project and working together, showing their expertise. And I mean, it was a very crazy, hectic time where meeting people internationally and kind of all coming together to kind of solve this new idea, this new, I don't want to call it a problem, just like break ground in this new virtual space.
Welcome to Block by Block West, a Minecraft music festival presented by Courier Club. Block by Block West aims to forge a hub of human connectivity in this time of social distancing through live stream acts, competitive minigames, a vast art gallery featuring rising fine artists, as well as a handful of other features for the festival goer to explore. All you need to explore this world is a copy of Minecraft Java Edition, which will run you around the price of a single concert ticket. Next, hit the multiplayer tab and select Add Server. Then type in fest.blockbyblockwest.com and confirm. Then simply join the server via the server list. When you enter the festival, you'll be greeted with a pop-up to join our Discord in order to experience the live-streamed audio. Accept the invite and select what stage you want to stream from the voice channel listings on your left. It should sound something like this. Now that you're tapped into the stream, head on over to the corresponding stage and watch the performance. Each act will have custom backdrops and skins and will be present interacting with the crowd during their show. In between performances, make sure to support your favorite acts by picking up some merch. You can do this by heading to the merch tent and clicking on the item, which will send you directly to their online merch store. And if you don't have access to a Minecraft account, don't worry. You can still stream each stage, audio included, via the Block by Block West website or any of these platforms listed below.
So yeah, it was quite the roller coaster, and I would.
And I love the name.
Oh yeah.
I love the name Block by Block West. It's interesting because you all have like this in common, right? That you have like events or, you know, experiences that were really physical. Imagine like just watching a concert with band is extremely physical, right? Mm-hmm. And then people, like the community would get, or the fans would get together in like a specific date and time, right? So like you said, COVID happened, and probably happened with the same thing with Kim and Jennifer, that they were like, so I want to know a little bit, like what kind of solutions you started to think, how it reached you, how was like the behind the scenes of this challenge in 2020?
Actually, last March, we were a few days, we were supposed to ship the cargo to Singapore to deliver an event for one of our clients in April. So, and we also add the keys and the forklift to start setting up the site in Montreal at McGill College. So everything was ready to happen. And when we got locked down, we never thought that this would still be the case today. Obviously, for everyone, I'm sure the same thing. And we were thinking, okay, so what's next? Should we pivot into the digital world? And we have decided really in the few first days of the lockdown, we have decided that no matter what, we needed to pivot into digital. We had a lack, I would say that our platform was not strong enough anyway. So we have decided to invest time and money and research to develop it in any way. And we did a 2 weeks of brainstorming the entire company to find new product. We were like proactive, like let's deep dive in what is the future now of event. And anyway, whatever happens, we will need a contingency plan.
And Kim, can you tell a little bit of Burning Man? I think that like was probably harder even, right? Because since it was already really distributed, how it reached you?
With Burning Man, by February, we were beginning to ask ourselves how serious was COVID going to be, and what could we stage as a sort of approach to what we could build in the desert with a shorter time frame, so that we could wait and delay as long as possible before making a decision, so that we would have more information. However, as we moved into March and things were shutting down, and as Jennifer said, at that point, no one, I think, thought it would last for this long. And so we still had an open question about whether to have the event or not, and realized that we needed to make an earlier decision rather than a later, because our event is co-created and participants build artworks and build mutant vehicles, build theme camps and make plans and raise money. And so we had sold the first round of early tickets. More than 20 million of tickets had been sold. And then we would have had another sale of tickets in the spring. And so April 10th, we decided that we needed to, in the weeks leading up to April 10th is when we announced that we wouldn't be going to the desert. And internally, there was this guy, Matt Sundquist, who was like saying, we have to say that we're going virtual. And the CEO, and a few of us on the leadership committee, we debated it. And she decided to be bold and to say we're going virtual, even though we had no idea how we were going to do that. But we didn't want to say it was canceled. It's a community, it's a culture. And so better to say that we were doing something different than to say that we weren't happening at all.
So the timeline was really fast, right?
Yes, the next slide in my deck shows you this sort of April. We announced that we weren't going to be in the desert and we would go virtual. And we posted, if you'd like to help us do this, let us know. And within 48 hours, 11,000 people had responded. And over the course of the first 2 weeks, 14,000 people responded saying they wanted to help. 1,000 of those were developers. Many of those were artists. Some people said what they wanted to bring was the love. So we had a vast range of capabilities and talents and offerings, as well as being approached by people who could full on produce platforms. So between April and May, between April 10th and June 12th, basically, we assessed what our capabilities were and came to understand that we were not in a position to produce anything more than a website with a lot of links, but our community had offerings that they wanted to bring to the table. And so we decided to collaborate. And June 12th, I was asked to lead that work. And by the first week of July, we had contracts with 8 producers of virtual experiences, and we were off and running.
So there was actually 8 recognized multiverses, right? So actually I have a video. Should we show the video of the multiverse?
In a world without Black Rock City, in a multiverse without beginning or end, one man has the power to take you home again in 8 different planes of existence. The Burning Man. In the 8 recognized universes of the Burning Man multiverse. Online and wherever you are. Whether you've been burning for eons or you just learned about Burning Man today, these universes await your radical participation. So, pitch a tent in your living room, put on your playa gear, and dive into the experience of your choice. Or, if you're bad at making choices, experience them all. Interact with the epic art. Ride on virtual mutant vehicles. Participate in theme camp shenanigans. Engage in workshops. Dance the night away to DJ sets. And experience random but oddly synchronous encounters with interesting humans. Leave an offering at the virtual temple. Build and burn your own man and be part of a round-the-clock global burn night streaming extravaganza. All this can be yours in the Burning Man multiverse, August 30th to September 6th, 24/7. Visit kindling.burningman.org to plan your interdimensional journey.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I want to like, can you explain a bit of the approaches of
Yes,
the?
I'm very eager to do that. And, we say there were 8, but in the end, there were 10 experiences. And your point about how different people approach the same challenge was a beautiful thing. Like, it was so unbelievable that we would have one meeting, then the next meeting, then the next meeting, and all of them were thinking about Black Rock City and participation from their own point of view. So there was a range and a spectrum, and it became a sort of portfolio of experiences. And some of the challenges were that we weren't able to create an elegant UX. Like, people had to just kind of fumble their way around to figure out how to get into the different experiences. And we hope to do that. But the advantage of having multiples was getting, from Build to Burn, which is on a platform called Topia, that's peer-to-peer based. Like, it's 2 guys, one's a product manager guy and one's a former cryptocurrency finance guy. And so, for them, it was about proximity and circulation. So as you move your little avatar that's not at all customizable around the experience, then the people who were near you would come up with audio and visual fidelity, and you could hang out and meet people in the way that they describe going to a party. When you enter in the front door, you hang out in the kitchen or you go to the backyard. And it was also super simple to access. To your point about new adopters in technology, they didn't have to really struggle to do it. All the way to BRC VR, which was VR headset based, very sophisticated, super well done. We had, in the sort of other extreme, we had Sparkleverse, which is kind of augmented Zoom rooms, but very mixed reality based, the kind of thing that I think Jennifer thought a lot about for C2, so you may be in a Zoom room, but you're in a hot tub party and somebody's shaving their legs with fishnets on, or you are able to kind of navigate this you could choose to go to the experience by clicking a button that said carpool, and then you'd be like stuck in a graphic car for 30 minutes before you could enter the event with strangers that you would get to know in this kind of random way. But what's interesting is on the high tech end, like 22% of the people who participated met someone, had never been to Burning Man, and 70% met someone they didn't know before. So the random encounters piece was incredible. We had more than 160 countries participate. And, we also had a sort of app-based, mobile-based from Clippo Labs, Dusty Multiverse, that was free to people in the global south, but paid if you were in Canada, Australia, the US, UK, or Europe. So, there was a really incredible mix of offerings. And then, Burning Man has this ritual related to the temple. And this is a place of offering and loss and release and grief. And so the temple was created and rendered in the different experiences. But separately, this man named Jeremy actually made code that allowed people to create objects with audio files, photos, and text that they could leave in the temple. And then he destroyed his code and all of the data as the way to burn that and to make it purely, really, truly personal. So, there's 10, so I would talk more than you want me to talk, but the range and the generosity, and certainly people are savvy. They understood this could push them. It could be a forcing function to bring them to market. It could allow them proof of concept to demonstrate the creation of what you might think of almost like a venue and an experience. They could use the force of our community to test things, to test scaling. Is it going to break when you get the thousands of people into the experience? And in the end, we had 446,000 experiences. That's not unique visitors. That's all the visitors combined did 446,000 things in 1 week. And everybody learned, everybody gained. And I think everybody came to play with heart.
Yeah, it was amazing. And actually, I ended up in a Zoom party with other people that I haven't met. It was really international, just to watch the burn together. It was interesting. And also, the temple burn was amazing. It was really beautiful, and you could just put their offerings there. So So, Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit of how it happened for you? Like, how was the online experience? Because it was this October, right?
Exactly, last October, our very first online event. It was a humble approach that we have chosen with the theme resilience. So for us, it was really about connecting our community, convening them, have them meet new people with a serendipity approach. I've then been inspired, being able to share their concerns, using the community's creativity to find solutions that they can implement in their own businesses. So we had our event over 10 days to make sure to allow people to have the time to do their work on the side and connect when they are all there for that. That was weird, bad English. But it was important for us not to do the usual multi-track programming, 10 hours of programming every day. It was no, people need to breathe between the sessions. They might have their kids at home, they have meetings, but the idea was to invite inspiring speakers, have them do some workshops, so collaborate online with really, like I say, humble tools. It was the first edition, but since we are keep developing the technology, and we have a lot of requests from organizations that they want us to bring together their community and engage them, because it's easy now to share content all over the world, but it is harder to have the audience engage and interact. So it's all about the broadcasting live, which we're not now. That I think it's a little bit, it's sad. I would have liked to see the people's reaction in the chat box and integrate their question, concern into our conversation to bring it further. But in any way, now we are keep evolving our platform technology, and we're looking forward to invite our community again very shortly.
Interesting. And also, like, people talked a lot on C2 about gamified experiences. So that's actually, I think that we have a lot on the events industry to learn from games, like Tim did, right? So Tim, do you want to tell us a bit about that? How do you made people actually build a universe, and how did you got all those bands to work on the music festival? What can we learn from that, right?
Yeah, so I know a massive thing for us is once the virus hit, a lot of bands are being pushed into doing kind of live stream performances, and that didn't really cover all the marks for us, because the way we look at it is, going to a live show is 25% watching the band play, but it's 75% being around the people with you. So we really wanted to try to create an experience that kind of express that, but at the same time, we're 5 kids in an indie rock band. We're not, and if anything, we're tech hobbyists, I'll say. So we needed, that's what drew us to Minecraft, because it was a platform that was already built. It was a platform that was very accessible to people. It was very in the zeitgeist. People knew how to interact with it. It was a cheap game to afford, so it was wasn't like a massive ticket. It was like the price of a normal concert ticket. And that kind of drew us to that game, a game that is very easily modded, a game that honestly in itself is about building things as a community. So it was a really good jumping point from there, and that just kind of led us to what it become.
And how did you get bands like Massive Attack and Pussy Riot, and so how did you actually make them actually come and play at Minecraft?
So the idea kind of just spread like wildfire. When it started off, we just kind of had a massive list of artists that, dream artists that we'd want to play the bill. We reached out to all of them, and, honestly, a few answered back, and we were kind of blown away by that. But as the idea grew and the press grew around it, every day it was kind of like a snowball effect, and more people would hit us up. And then I think it was like day before that Massive Attack wanted to play it. And it was just, you know, we're very new to this whole scenario. Everyone was completely new. So you're like, yeah, we'll have them. We'll take them. We can, and we filled the bill up almost a little too much. And actually, the first time we threw the festival, it crashed because it was, you know, it was too many people showing up. Luckily, that we easily fixed that. You know, we took a 2-week delay because the festival just got too big for our own good, which was you know, it was a little. It sucked, but at the same time, it was really nice to know that there was an appetite for it and that people were really kind of like yearning for it. So it was cool.
Yeah, it's sort of like when we were trying new ideas, this is the price, right? So I'm
Exactly.
sure, like,
Yeah.
I can't, you had the same thing, right? There was like some of the platforms that were supposed to be social, it didn't work at the end. So it's a lot of people trying things that are completely new. Jennifer, you also said that you guys tried to put like some features that you couldn't at the deadline, that you had like more ideas, right?
Yes, of course. Actually, the event that we have delivered in October represent more or less 10% of the vision that we wish to will accomplish within the next 3 years. So, and the gaming industry is inspiring us for sure. And I like the experience that you have pulled together, Timothy. It's there's something we should discuss about afterward. And Tim, of course.
I mean, I think that the gaming industry taught us and laid track for social spaces in virtual,
Definitely.
you know. And so you have 20 years or more of gamers and people associating that with, you know, their kids staying up late at night and making noise, while not realizing that that generation of gamers is maturing and has forged relationships through esports, through gaming. And then, you know, we saw the massive results that Fortnite experienced when they started to put live, or actually taped, but, you know, performance inside of Fortnite. And so it was like the technology, the human knowledge, and the moment all sort of came together. And I am super impressed, Tim, with your story and the sort of, you remind me a lot of the producers that ended up coming to Burning Man to do stuff, you know, where it was like really self-generated, very creative, very, you know, collaborative, and then, you know, making it happen. And that's like, just blows me away.
Yeah, and it's funny how you guys are both saying, Jennifer, you were saying kind of how it was only 10% of what you guys wanted to be, and that's kind of how we felt. It just kind of scratching. It was very primitive. It was like, you know, just scratching the mark of what we wanted. But the bright side of that is that it kind of showed us the massive realm of possibilities that are now available, and it kind of, you know, it kind of like set this fire in everybody, kind of being like, okay, if we can do this, here are the roadblocks for the next step. How do we solve that? And I think another thing is it showed all of us that this is something that, you know, doesn't have to be just a reactionary thing to the pandemic. It can be something that has value in the world that we're entering after this.
Yeah, definitely, because if we have been talking about virtual reality or like other simulated worlds, right? So when we talk about multiverses, we have been discussing that for a while, right? And also, some people do, like Second Life has been there for 10 years, was one of the multiverses as well, right? But also, I think that it pushed people into having like a framework, like games always had, right? The games kind of like you get together because you have to accomplish something. You have a mission, you have a strategy, you have you have a framework of things that you have to do online. So I think that a little bit of what we are learning is how to have those frameworks, like to watch concerts or have a framework to put on topics and you meet other people, and you know how you actually have a framework of having fun experiences like a dance or something really meaningful like transformation experience like the temple, right? So actually you're saying like that it's just 10%. So I would love to get your insight on what you think that is next. I mean, what is the other 90% things that we did not accomplish now, but we think that it's accomplishable, or we want to take farther, even if we can meet again on real life? Like, what should we start to explore?
I would say there's one massive thing, and I think Kim, you were talking about this with some of the multiverse stages, is it's still a very huge undertaking to have thousands of people in the same world together. And you can mimic it with proximity, and something we did was like server mirroring and stuff, and you can kind of mimic it, but it's still very hard to have thousands of avatars kind of clustered together like a normal festival. So I think exploring that, tackling that concept, and fixing that is going to open up everything to like the next stage. On top of that, I think creating worlds that are persistent and that can become vessels for, you know, not just your branded thing, but other people wanting to start things on. That's something that I've been very interested in, something where it's you create the engine in the sense, and then anyone can use that engine to create the experience that they are in need of, or, you know, something like you could have a massive show on it, or you could have a small town club show on the, you know, the platform, and kind of just laying the framework and kind of, you know, bridging the gap, making it accessible to everybody to kind of throw something like this, because these virtual worlds and these are massive undertakings, lots of time and money, and I think that's a really scary thing when you're trying to like get into it.
I'm landing very close to where you are. Like, so the issues of scale, right? Like, how do you scale effectively? And some of that is about the experience, which you were talking about, sort of thousands of people together in proximity and in a meaningful way. And some of that is about just a robust, you know, ability to scale that's elegant and not going to drive server costs sky high that make it impossible to do financially. So that's one piece. I think also portability. So like if you were having concurrent experiences like we are, how does your avatar move from space to space in a way that doesn't require exit and enter again? So, you know, in the sense of like thinking of multiple stages at a festival or something, and what you were just talking about, like the small clubhouse and the large room, how do we manage capacity in different sizes simultaneously and have some kind of portability where we jump from space to space and don't have to exit and re-enter? For us, just actual single ticketing is important. And I also think, you know, sort of feature sets that are simple for people to participate in ways that help you co-create or build out the experience, and not simply, you know, develop and deliver something to people, but actually where people play along. You were mentioning, Vanessa, that games, you know, have a common cause or a mission or a goal. And so, you know, in the sense that, Tim, you were talking about perpetual spaces, like people could be workshopping and developing and igniting ideas if the sort of relevant tools were available. And right now people need to learn Unity software. They need to be comfortable on Minecraft, or they need, you know, some other way to get their, you know, paper napkin sketch into a 3D object. And so how we can actually make feature sets that are easier to sort of be building blocks, like Minecraft was so good at doing, could be very interesting in this kind of larger exploration of what co-creativity in virtual space looks like. And then I think hybrid events and mixed reality stuff is also going to be very interesting. And I don't think we've yet thought on a very sophisticated level about what that can be. But I think some of the kind of portal type of things, like in BRC VR, we were able to sort of share a headset in Uganda in a refugee camp and have people in the refugee camp experiencing VR, Black Rock City in VR, but also telling people who were in BRC VR as participants what the conditions were in the refugee camp. So exchanges of knowledge and empathy and connection, I don't think we've even begun to figure out all of the possibilities in that space.
Yeah. And this is exactly where my mind goes. And how can we blur the physical experience with the digital one? We need to find a way that there's no more boundaries between these two realities. Is it VR? Is it portals? Is it augmented reality? I don't know yet the answer, but this is where we will be focusing a lot for the upcoming years. Because as soon as we will be able to see each other in a room, in a venue, on a site, in a festival, most of us will be there, but we want to be inclusive and have the people who won't travel for XY reasons to be able to partake to that gathering, that convening. So
that's really interesting, like that whole hyper realism, or I guess like virtual reality meets the physical space. Just a weird idea that had me thinking about is like it'd be, it's almost like a kind of like virtual masquerade you could almost throw, where you're in a physical space, say you're at a meet and greet or a networking event, but everyone's in VR and you're kind of viewing each other as these avatars that are way more creative and way more like theatrical and stuff. I don't know. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I think that like when you talk about those virtual worlds, the community build, because we have like this power of the crowds, it's sort of like the possibilities start to be infinite, right? Oh, those were excellent insights. So let me just try to summarize a little bit what the key takeaways or the learnings that we had in this session. So the first one that I think that is common to all three cases is that they all took a leap of faith. So upon the news of the pandemic, they decided right away that Burning Man or C2 or even Courier Club's tour was not canceled. What they said is, we will do it, but in a different way. So that moment, that specific decision was the starting point for this snowball effect. So we really need a handful of people that really decide to take action and decide to take this leap of faith and then figure out what to do next. The second is to create a low friction engine for the creators. So to maximize our chance to crowd build a multiverse, so this engine, so this invisible structure that the multiverses will be built upon, has to be low friction for the creators. One way to do it is to use the platforms that are already there, the structures that are already built, such as OutVR that Kim mentioned, or Minecraft that Tim used, right? Or Braindate that CT used. Sometimes the low-tech multiverses, like Kim's example of Sparkleverse, for instance, are the ones that might engage the most, since they manage to bring lots of creators and they can escalate easier, even if those creators don't come with development skills, for instance. The third one is to get inspired by games. In some levels, all those experiences were inspired by games, some literally, like Team and Minecraft, but also the lands of C2, for instance. Part of the thing of using the game structure is to make the experience voluntary, but also giving micro rewards for the users, for the creators all over the journey. So we need to acknowledge their accomplishments. They have to be able to track what they did, to track their journey, to know a little bit like what they accomplished there. All those little fun and engaging elements can motivate the community and help them build the world. The fourth is to find the bond within the community. We started talking about having strong community starters, but also having shared values, principles, rituals, missions. They reinforce the culture that already exists within the community, the identity. That's what Burning Man does with its principles, or when they have rituals, such as burning the temple, for instance. The way that people interpret their experience, or they have emotions together, that's what forms the identity of the community, and that's what makes them go farther. And last, enable portals and interperception. We have all been talking about hybrid events, or how to include AR, to include VR with physical experiences, but we're lacking the alternatives on how to jump from physical to multiverse, or from multiverse to multiverse. And while the creators are very good on creating the worlds or the experiences or the activities, the engine, the structure, the invisible structure itself, need to have some portals that can unite those possible universes. One of the words they use is interperception. So this is also a way to enable the worlds to co-create, but also to coexist. So those are some of the learnings and the key takeaways that we had when putting together this session. But I would love, since we're talking about communities, I would love for this not just be among us, but would love to see who is here and watching with us, because I'm sure that the ideas is not going to come up of this group, but it's going to come from everybody. So we would like to invite you guys to join us, because we're starting a WhatsApp group just because we want to meet you. We want to see who is there, and we want to make sure that we get the ideas, because I think that the spark actually resides in these connections. It's like when we exchange the ideas of Minecraft, but maybe we get that in Burning Man, or maybe we can use in a tech festival, right? So you can join this QR code. You just like use your phone, and then you go to the QR code, and then we're gonna travel to a WhatsApp group where you can meet us, and then we can continue this conversation, because I think that it's really like a I don't know zone, like I said in the beginning, right? And I think we just can find out all the possibilities when we join our experiences and we meet each other, like when we can go to this field. So I just wanna really thank you all for, I think there are different time zones and in different times, because we are recording this and we wanna meet you guys that are watching this afterwards. So thank you so much for you to take your time and being here, and for you that decided to choose this panel. And it's really nice meeting you all again.
It was nice meeting all of you.
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation, Vanessa.
So happy to be here, and many thanks to South by Southwest, which I love to attend, and look forward to returning there and going to C2 and dropping by to see you in Philadelphia, Tim. I know a ton of people there. You probably know folks at Rec Philly and other places.
Yep. Yeah, crazy. So,
yeah.
No, definitely. If probably not this year, but probably next year, I have, I think that we might encounter each other physically. I'm definitely going to be there at C2, at Burning Man, and South by, and maybe we see each other in South by next year.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to check out Burning Man and C2. Write it off the bucket list.
Bye.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.